Okay guys, so today we are going to do the SPOND to SPONS SPOUS list here. Basically means promise, answer for, or pledge, okay? Makes me kind of think about, immediately I think about the word spouse and how when people get married, they make a promise to each other or a pledge to one another. So that makes sense to me already with our words. I can make some connections. All right, so the first word here is correspond. Correspond is a verb. It's something that you're doing, and it says to be similar, to coincide or go with, or to answer through writing. So you've got two different definitions here. Answer through writing, this is correspond, over email, or correspond over through a letter in the mail. It just means that you are writing to answer something that's maybe somebody wrote to you and you're answering back to them. But these, the ones in the front here, to be similar, coincide, or go with. So if two things correspond, that means that they go with each other, okay? So they may be similar, and you want to make sure that they go together. So you would say like that you have the... I just lost my train of thought right in the middle of a video. That's awesome. You would say that, like, if you looked through your backpack and you had, a set of textbooks in there, you would talk about how the science textbook corresponds with your science course, and that each one would go through, your ELA or your math textbook or whatever. I know we don't have textbooks, but that's the example I came up with right now, guys. All right, despondent. Despondent is an adjective. That means we are describing a noun. So a despondent noun is without hope or promise. It's forlorn or hopeless, okay? So I think that thinking about despondent here, D obviously is like a negative thing, and you see here that it's just meaning that they're hopeless. They're kind of really down in the dumps. Sometimes I call it downy clowny. All right, we've got espouse right here, espouse, and this is a verb, and it means to pledge one's loyalty or to support. A lot of times I think about like a knight pledging his support to a king, okay, or to the kingdom. Wow, okay. So that's what I always think of when I think about this, is like you're pledging your loyalty to or your support. It could probably be a political thing as well. Here we've got irresponsible. I am pretty sure we all know about that word. It is a word that teachers love to use all the time. Actually, we like to use this part of the word more so, being responsible. But if you know what responsible is, then you know that irresponsible is just the opposite of that, okay? So you're not reliable, you're untrustworthy, you're not answering for your actions. Next is respond. Respond is another one that we know pretty well. This is a verb. It just means to answer or to make a reply, okay? So if you have an invitation, you need to respond to the invitation to let them know if you're coming. So it means that you're answering. You're replying to their question. The next one is responsible. Obviously, we have our little connection here. These are just the opposites of each other. Responsive is an adjective again, so it's describing a noun. You're talking about a noun that is answering or is reacting. So a lot of times they use the word responsive, like if somebody has had an emergency. So if somebody has to call a paramedic and they get there and the person is unconscious, they would be unresponsive, okay? But if somebody is responsive, then you're really happy because that means they're awake and everything's okay. Next is sponsor. Sponsor is I'm gonna write unresponsive here because I looked up there and saw just emergency and was like, well, that doesn't really make sense by itself. All right, so sponsor is somebody that assumes responsibility for someone else or a promise to pay for someone else's expenses. A lot of times this happens with athletic teams, where you might have a restaurant or something that sponsors the team. They pay for their uniforms. So that is a way you could remember that. Sometimes, like, if you're gonna do, if you're gonna run a marathon for a certain cause, I know I've done some walks for juvenile diabetes and for autism, things like that. You get sponsors, so people give you money to raise money for the cause because you're gonna do the walking. Next is spontaneous. Spontaneous just means it happens kind of unplanned. It happens. There's not really a cause for it. It just happens. Sometimes you call things like, if you decide all of a sudden it's a nice day and you just go for a walk, as a family, that could be a spontaneous activity that you guys did. You didn't plan to do it, but you saw the opportunity, so you just went ahead and did it. Spontaneous could also be like if something gets too hot. A lot of times they'll say spontaneous combustion. Wow, can't talk this morning. So that would mean that it just happened by itself, kind of. The heat got too intense and that it sparked something. So it was spontaneous and it combusted, meaning that it lit on fire. So that's this idea of unplanned. It just kind of happened. And the last one, there's that spouse. That was like what I said at the very, very beginning. A marriage partner or someone who has pledged marriage. So that's where you get your initial root word action there. But spouse is a marriage partner, so a husband or a wife, right? All right. So, and we got them right down here, don't we, guys? All right, so anywho, I'm going to go ahead and end this because I feel like this was a little bit of a wandering one. If you got any questions, let me know. I think you're probably looking... I feel like this is like one of the hardest words, this SPOUS one, but as long as we can, relate that, try to keep in mind like how a knight is with a kingdom or to a king, maybe that will help us out there. So, all right, guys, good luck on your quiz when it comes time. Love you, bye. Mwah.